The fortress city of was dying. For 6 long months the army had surrounded the planet called Hollow Star. Their ships blocked the sky. Their soldiers covered the ground like a dark ocean. 200,000 of them waited outside the walls. They were patient. They knew the city would fall. Inside those walls, 15,000 coalition soldiers slowly starved. Captain Bora stood on the eastern wall and looked at the enemy camps. There were tall creatures. They stood 7 feet high with scales like armor and eyes that glowed yellow in the dark. They had conquered 100 worlds. They had never lost a siege. Bora was tired. Everyone was tired. The food had run out 3 weeks ago. Now they ate emergency paste that tasted like dust. Water was limited to 1 cup per day. Medicine was almost gone. She looked at the massive siege gate below her. It was the only entrance to the city. The gate was made of metal so thick that normal weapons could not scratch it. An energy shield covered it like invisible armor. As long as the gate stood, they could not enter. But the gate was dying too. Engineers had spent months digging tunnels under the wall. They had found the power source that fed the shield. Every day, they cut deeper into it. Every day, the shield grew weaker. Coalition intelligence said the gate would fall in 2 days, maybe 3 if they were lucky. Reinforcements were 3 weeks away. Bora closed her eyes and tried not to think about what would happen when the gate fell. They did not take prisoners. Everyone knew this. They had seen the other worlds, the empty cities, the mass graves. Her communicator beeped. Command was calling an emergency meeting. She walked through the empty streets to the command center. Once this city had been beautiful. Ancient buildings made of white stone, gardens on every corner, fountains that sang with running water. Now the gardens were dead. The fountains were dry. The people who had lived here were gone, evacuated before the siege began. Only soldiers remained. The command center was deep underground. Bora walked down 3 flights of stairs and entered a room filled with officers. Most of them were not human. The coalition was made of many species from many worlds. She saw the tall blue with their 4 arms. She saw the small gray with their big black eyes. She saw the insect-like clicking their mandibles nervously. And in the corner, sitting alone, she saw the human. His name was, he had been hired 8 months ago as a specialist consultant. Nobody knew exactly what that meant. He did not talk much. He did not stand out. He was average height for a human with a plain face and quiet eyes. He wore simple clothes and kept to himself. Most of the officers ignored him. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy. Nobody here had ever seen one fight. To them, was just another mercenary waiting to die. But Bora had talked to him a few times. There was something about him that she could not explain, something in the way he moved, something in the way he watched things, like a predator pretending to sleep. General, with scars covering half his face, called the meeting to order. "The situation is simple," he said. His voice was heavy with exhaustion. "The gate falls in 48 hours. When it does, we die. Reinforcements are too far away. We have no options left." The room was silent. Everyone knew this already, but hearing it spoken made it real. "We could surrender," someone suggested quietly. "The do not accept surrender," General replied. "We have all seen what they do." More silence. Bora felt the weight of it pressing down on her chest. Then a voice spoke from the corner. It was soft, almost casual. "I could destroy the gate controls." Everyone turned to look at. He had not moved from his chair. His face showed nothing. General frowned. "Explain." "They are attacking the gate's power source from underground," said. "But they control the attack from a forward station outside the walls. If that station is destroyed, the gate stays up." An officer laughed. It was not a happy sound. "That station is surrounded by 40,000 soldiers, their best troops, their most elite guards." "I know," said. "You would need an army to reach it." "No," replied. "I would need to be alone." The room erupted in noise. Officers shouted. Some laughed. Some called him crazy. One said he was wasting their time. But Bora watched his face. He was not joking. He was not crazy. He meant every word. Lieutenant watched the meeting through a hololink from the intelligence bunker. She was human too, one of only 3 on the entire planet. She had worked with many species. She had studied many soldiers. She had never seen anyone look the way he looked right now. His eyes moved across the tactical map on the table. She could almost see him planning, calculating, measuring, and something else, something that made her blood run cold. He was not afraid. He should have been afraid. Any sane creature would be afraid, but looked at 40,000 enemy soldiers the way a wolf looks at sheep. Whispered to herself, "What are you?" She did not know yet, but she would learn. They all would. The room would not stop arguing. Officers shouted at each other. Some called a fool, some called him suicidal. A few simply ignored him and returned to planning their final stand. General raised his 4 arms for silence. It took a long time for the noise to die down. "You are one creature," the general said slowly. "They have 40,000 soldiers between here and that station. 300 elite guards protect the station itself. You would die before you got halfway there." Stood up from his chair. He walked to the tactical map in the center of the room. Everyone watched him. "Do you know anything about Earth?" he asked. The general shook his head. Most species knew little about the human. It was far away. It was not important. It was just another rock spinning in space. "Earth is heavy," said. "Its gravity pulls harder than most worlds. Every step is work. Every breath is effort. For millions of years, life on Earth had to fight just to survive." He pointed to himself. "Humans evolved there. We did not become the fastest. We did not become the strongest. We became something else." Captain Bora leaned forward. She had never heard speak this much. "On Earth there is a type of hunting called persistence hunting," he continued. "Humans cannot outrun most animals, but we can keep running long after they collapse from exhaustion. We chase them for hours, days sometimes. We do not stop. We do not rest. We follow them until their hearts give out." The room was quiet now. Officers exchanged confused looks. "Our bodies are designed to keep going when they should fail," said. "We can lose blood that would kill other species. We heal from wounds that would end other lives. Our bones break and reform stronger. Our muscles tear and rebuild bigger." He looked around the room. His eyes were calm. "But the most dangerous thing about humans is not our bodies. It is our minds. We can ignore pain. We can push past limits that other species cannot even imagine. When a human decides to do something, they do not stop. They cannot stop. It is not in our nature." An officer clicked his mandibles nervously. "This is impossible. No single creature can." "I am not asking for permission to survive," interrupted. "I am asking for permission to try." General stared at him for a long moment. The old had fought many wars. He had seen many brave soldiers. He had watched most of them die. But there was something in this human's eyes, something he had never seen before. It was not courage. It was not madness. It was certainty. "What do you need?" the general asked. The other officers gasped. Some protested, but silenced them with a look. "My equipment," said. "A plasma blade, 2 kinetic pistols, 1 demolition charge, nothing else. No armor, no backup weapons. Light armor only. Speed matters more than protection." Captain Bora stepped forward. "I have seen humans in trading posts and markets. You seem normal, strong maybe, good endurance, but normal." Looked at her. For the first time, something like a smile crossed his face. It was not a warm smile. "We seem normal because we live in a galaxy where everything is easier than home. Lower gravity, less competition, softer environments." He paused. "Put a human back in survival mode and you will see what we really are." "And what is that?" Bora asked. "The reason nothing on Earth ever hunted us for long." Lieutenant watched from her bunker. Her heart was beating fast. She understood what was saying better than the aliens in that room. She had grown up on Earth. She remembered the stories, the ancient hunts, the wars that lasted generations, the way humans had spread across their planet and bent it to their will. Humans were not special because they were strong. They were special because they never, ever gave up. General made his decision. "You have permission. Leave tonight after dark. May whatever gods you believe in watch over you." Nodded, he did not thank them. He simply walked out of the room. Bora followed him into the hallway. "Wait." He stopped but did not turn around. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "You are a mercenary. You were hired for consultation, not combat. You could hide in the bunkers until the end. Why throw your life away?" Was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was low. "I spent 10 years in the Terran Marines. I fought in wars you have never heard of. I watched friends die on worlds with no names." He turned to face her. "The soldiers in this city are not my people, but they are people, and I am tired of watching people die when I can do something about it." Bora did not know what to say. She simply nodded. Continued walking. At the end of the hallway, he paused and looked back. "Captain, when the sun rises tomorrow, either I will be dead or the will be running. Either way, remember one thing." "What?" "Earth makes things differently. We are not built for comfort. We are built for survival. And survival, Captain, is the only thing we know how to do." He disappeared into the shadows. Bora stood alone in the hallway for a long time. She thought about his words. She thought about what was coming. And for the first time in 6 months, she felt something strange growing in her chest. Hope. Night fell over Hollow Star like a black blanket. The twin moons hung low in the sky, casting pale light over the camps. Thousands of fires burned in the darkness. Shadows moved between tents. The enemy army was settling in for another night of waiting. They did not know what was coming. Crawled out of a maintenance tunnel 200 meters from the outer wall. He wore light armor painted black. His plasma blade hung at his side. His 2 pistols rested in their holsters. The demolition charge was strapped to his back. He took a deep breath. The air smelled like smoke and alien sweat. Then he started walking. The first patrol found him 10 minutes later. 3 soldiers, tall and scaled, carrying plasma rifles. They saw a single figure moving through the shadows and laughed. "Lost human," one of them said in broken common tongue. "Wrong place to die." Did not answer, he moved. The first soldier was dead before he could raise his weapon. His blade cut through his throat in one smooth motion. The second soldier fired but was already moving. The shot missed. The blade did not. The third soldier tried to run, tried to call for help, caught him before he could do either. 3 bodies hit the ground, did not stop moving. On the walls of coalition soldiers watched through night vision scopes. They saw the patrol fall. They saw the human continue forward into the darkness. Captain Bora gripped the railing until her knuckles turned white. The outer camps of the army spread across the valley like a disease. Tens of thousands of tents, hundreds of guard posts, patrol routes that crisscrossed every open space. Moved through them like water through cracks. When he could avoid detection, he did. When he could not, he killed, quickly, quietly. Bodies fell in the darkness, and by the time anyone noticed, he was gone. But they were not fools. They found the bodies. They raised alarms. Within an hour, the entire outer camp was awake. Soldiers grabbed their weapons. Officers shouted orders. Search parties spread out in every direction. They were looking for an enemy force, a strike team, maybe a squad of elite commandos. They found one man. And they could not stop him. Lieutenant sat in the intelligence bunker, monitoring communications. What she heard made her blood freeze. Contact at Sector 7, one target, 1. He killed 12 soldiers in Sector 9, just walked through them. Where is he? Where is he going? He took a plasma bolt to the shoulder. He is still moving. Why is he still moving? Switch to another channel. I shot him twice. He should be dead. He looked at me and kept walking. What is this thing? And another. Request backup. Immediate backup. He is cutting through our lines like they are not there. The voices were scared. These were soldiers. They had conquered worlds. They had butchered millions. They did not know fear. Until tonight. Commander received the reports in his command tent. He was an old soldier, 40 campaigns under his belt. He had fought the strongest armies in the galaxy and crushed them all. He listened to his officers describe what was happening, and for the first time in his long life, he did not understand. One creature, he asked. You are telling me one creature is doing this? Yes, Commander, a human, just one. Humans are weak, average, nothing special. His officer hesitated. Commander, he has killed over 50 of our soldiers in the past hour. He is still moving toward the siege gate station. Slammed his fist on the table. Then send more soldiers, surround him, destroy him. We have tried, Commander. He does not stop. We wound him and he does not stop. We outnumber him 1,000 to 1 and he does not stop. The officer's voice cracked. He just keeps coming. Moved through the night like a ghost made of violence. His shoulder burned where the plasma bolt had hit. 2 ribs were cracked from a lucky strike. Blood ran down his arm from a blade wound he could not remember receiving. None of it mattered. His body wanted to stop. His muscles screamed for rest. His lungs begged for air. Every part of him said this was impossible. But had spent his whole life ignoring what his body said. He remembered his training, the endless runs through deserts and mountains, the days without sleep, the instructors who broke bones and expected you to keep fighting. He remembered what they taught him. Pain is information. Fear is chemical. Limits are lies your body tells to keep you safe. Humans were not meant to be safe. They were meant to survive. A squad of blocked his path, 10 soldiers with heavy weapons. They thought numbers would save them. Did not slow down. He did not try to go around. He went through. By the time the last body fell, he was limping. His armor was cracked. His left arm was not working right. But the siege gate station was now visible in the distance. A large structure surrounded by lights and guards. 300 elite soldiers waited there, the best the had. Looked at them through the darkness. He took a deep breath. And he kept walking. The siege gate station stood like a metal fortress in the middle of the camp. It was built for one purpose, to crack open the gate that protected. Inside, massive machines worked day and night, digging tunnels, cutting through shields, slowly killing the city's last defense. 300 soldiers guarded it, not regular troops, elite warriors, the best of the best. Each one had killed hundreds in battle. Each one had trained for decades. They stood in perfect formation around the station. They carried the heaviest weapons. They wore the thickest armor. They were ready for an army. They were not ready for. He came out of the darkness like something from a nightmare. His armor was broken. His body was covered in blood. One arm hung at an angle that meant broken bones. A normal creature would have collapsed long ago. But he was not a normal creature. The first guard saw him and hesitated. This did not look like a threat. This looked like a dying man walking toward his grave. Then they saw his eyes. There was no fear there, no pain, no doubt, just cold, absolute certainty, the eyes of something that had already decided the future and was simply making it happen. The first shot was fired, it missed. Did not miss. What happened next would later become legend. They would call it the 30 minutes of silence. For exactly that long, no radio signals left the station, no calls for help, no reports. Just screams that faded one by one. On the walls of coalition soldiers watched through their scopes. They saw distant flashes of gunfire. They heard explosions echo across the valley. The lights of the station flickered and died. Captain Bora could not look away. Lieutenant sat frozen in her bunker, listening to the communication channels. At first, there were panicked calls. Soldiers shouting about the human that would not die. Officers demanding backup that never came. Then the voices changed. She heard something she had never expected to hear from warriors. Prayer. Hardened soldiers who had burned cities and slaughtered millions were begging their gods for mercy. They were crying. They were running, and it did not save them. One by one, the voices went silent. Commander stood outside his command tent, watching the distant battle. His hands shook. He had seen wars that lasted years. He had watched armies die. He had never seen anything like this. "What is that thing?" he whispered. No one could answer him. Inside the station, moved like death itself. His plasma blade had broken 10 minutes ago. Now he fought with his hands, his pistols, and anything he could grab. A metal pipe, a broken piece of armor, the weapon of a fallen enemy. His left arm was useless. 3 more ribs had cracked. Blood filled one of his lungs, making every breath a struggle. His body was shutting down piece by piece. He ignored it. Elite soldiers fell around him. They fought with skill and desperation. They used every trick they knew. They attacked together and alone. They tried traps and ambushes and overwhelming force. None of it worked. Because was not fighting like a soldier. He was fighting like a force of nature. A storm does not care how skilled you are. A wildfire does not stop because you fight back. The human body was never designed to do what he was doing, but humans had spent millions of years learning to push beyond design, to ignore the signals that said stop, to keep going when every law of nature said it was impossible. This was what Earth had created. This was what the galaxy had never seen. An unstoppable will wrapped in failing flesh. The last guard was a massive warrior, bigger than all the others. He had killed over 1,000 enemies in his career. He faced in the control room, where the machines that were destroying the siege gate hummed with power. "You should be dead," the guard said. His voice shook. "No creature can do what you have done." Looked at him. His face was pale from blood loss. His breathing was ragged and wet. "You do not understand," said. His voice was barely a whisper. "On Earth we do not stop, we never stop. It is the only thing we know." The guard charged. He was fast. He was strong. He was the best warrior his people had ever produced. It was not enough. 2 minutes later stood alone in the control room. The demolition charge was in his hand. His body screamed for rest. His vision was fading at the edges. He set the timer, 30 seconds. Then he walked out of the station. The explosion lit up the night like a second sun. The blast was visible from space. The machines that were killing the siege gate were destroyed instantly. The power source that fed the attack was gone. The gate would stand. On the walls of soldiers cheered. Some cried. Some simply stared in disbelief. Through the smoke and fire, a single figure appeared. He walked slowly, barely staying upright. His armor was gone. His body was broken. Every step looked like it might be his last. Captain Bora was already running toward the gate. "Open it! Open the gate now!" The massive doors groaned and began to move. Made it 50 meters from the wall before his legs finally gave out. He collapsed in the dirt, still facing the city he had just saved. Bora reached him first. She looked down at a man who should have been dead a dozen times over. His body was more wound than flesh. His breathing was shallow and irregular. But he was alive. "How?" she whispered. "How is this possible?" Opened his eyes. He looked at her with something that might have been a smile. "Humans," he said, "we are hard to kill." Then he passed out. The army broke before sunrise. Commander gave the order himself. Retreat, full withdrawal. Every soldier, every vehicle, every piece of equipment. Leave now, leave fast. His officers could not believe it. They still had 200,000 soldiers. They still outnumbered the coalition 15-1. They could still take the city by force if they were willing to pay the price. But had seen his soldiers' eyes. He had heard their voices on the radio. The army that had conquered 100 worlds was now afraid of shadows. Every noise in the dark made them jump. Every movement in the corner of their vision made them flinch. Because somewhere out there, a human might be waiting. One human had killed 300 of their best warriors. One human had walked through an army like it was nothing. One human had done the impossible and then walked away. What if there were more? They retreated so fast they left supplies behind. They left vehicles. They left wounded. Nothing mattered except getting away from Hollow Star. Away from the human. Coalition reinforcements arrived 5 days later. They found a city that should have been dead but was somehow still standing. They heard the story of what had happened, and they did not believe it at first. Then they saw the siege gate station, or what was left of it. The crater was 50 meters wide. Around it, the ground was covered with bodies. 300 elite soldiers killed in 30 minutes. The evidence was impossible to deny. The story spread. Lieutenant made sure of it. She was an intelligence officer, and she understood the power of information. She sent reports to every coalition command center. She shared the recordings of soldiers praying and screaming. She described what she had witnessed in exact detail. Within a week, every world in coalition space knew the name. Within a month, the entire galaxy did. In the medical bay of slowly healed. The alien doctors had never seen anything like his recovery. His wounds should have killed him 10 times over. His body should have needed months to recover. Instead, he was conscious in 2 days and walking in 5. Human biology is remarkable, the head doctor said, studying his charts. Your cells repair damage at rates we have never observed. Your immune system adapts to foreign pathogens almost instantly. Your pain tolerance is beyond our measurement scales. Said nothing, he just wanted to leave. Captain Bora visited him every day. She brought food when she could find it and stories when she could not. She told him about the retreat, about the reinforcements, about the way soldiers whispered his name in the hallways. You are a legend now, she said one afternoon. They have a name for you. They call you something that translates to Earthborn doom. They use it to scare their children. Looked out the window. He did not seem pleased. I just did what needed to be done, he said. Any human would have done the same. Bora shook her head. No, what you did was not normal, even for a human. You do not understand, replied. Every human has this inside them, the will to keep going, the refusal to accept defeat. We just rarely need to use it. He turned to face her. Put any human in the situation I was in, push them hard enough and they will surprise you. Bora thought about this for a long time. Lieutenant came to see him before he was discharged. She stood in the doorway, watching him pack his few belongings. The galaxy is watching us now, she said. Humans, I mean. Everyone wants to know more about us. Governments are updating their threat assessments. Military academies are studying what you did. Good, said. Maybe they will think twice before attacking our people again. Stepped closer. I have to ask, during those 30 minutes in the station, were you afraid? Stopped packing. He was quiet for a long moment. Fear is just a chemical, he finally said. Your brain tells your body to stop, to run, to give up. On Earth, we learn to treat fear like any other information. We acknowledge it and then we ignore it. But 300 soldiers were in my way, he shrugged. I had a job to do. Fear would not have helped me do it. Shivered, she was human too. She understood what he was saying, but hearing it spoken so calmly was something else entirely. "What now?" she asked. Finished packing, he picked up his bag and walked toward the door. "There are other worlds that need help," he said. "Other sieges, other wars. I will find one and do what I can." He paused at the doorway. "When other species ask about humans, tell them the truth. Tell them we are not the strongest or the fastest. Tell them we are just persistent. Tell them that when we start something, we finish it." He walked away without looking back. The story of Hollow Star echoed across the galaxy for years. It changed everything. Human mercenaries became the most valuable soldiers in known space. Every army wanted them. Every government feared them. The quiet creatures from the heavy world were no longer overlooked. And in the dark corners of space, generals and admirals gathered in secret meetings. They studied the reports. They watched the recordings. They counted human populations on distant Earth and the colony worlds. 8 billion on the alone, billions more spread across human space. The question that haunted them was simple. If one human could do what did, what would happen if they ever faced an army of them? The answer, they realized, was extinction. So they did something the Dominion had never done in their entire history. They sent diplomats instead of soldiers. And across the galaxy, species who had dismissed humans as average, as weak, as unimportant began to whisper a new name when they spoke of Earth. They called it the Doom World. And they learned at last to be afraid.